Hello, everybody. Am I audible?
ના જોઈશે આમાં જોઈ લે
Connected or not? Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining this webinar. So, before starting this with this webinar, I would like to introduce Nilesh Desai sir, who is going to take this forward, this particular webinar forward. So, brief about Mr. Nilesh Desai sir. He is the founder and CEO of SME Analytics. He is an MSME expert and is the author of the book The Unexplored Gold Mine: The Opportunities in the Revival of the Sick MSMEs. He is fond of writing daily newsletters to spread awareness about the MSME world. Mr. Desai has a vast experience of about 41 years in the engineering industry. Mr. Desai has widespread knowledge in MSMEs and he is working towards increasing the operational efficiency of the MSME units. He is a member in various committees and represents the interest of MSME. He has traveled extensively and has business associations in Australia as well. So this topic is on valuation of MSME, unexplored value. So Desai sir, please take this forward.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. See, that today's topic is very critical. Generally, every MSME unit looks for measuring the profit. But today, I am going to discuss about valuation and other things. So when you start any business, you have got two objectives, profit and valuation. Every year you can know your profit more exactly, but valuation you have created is difficult to measure. There are various intangibles you have created, like the business reputation, the value of business customers. Say any repeat customer who is there for a long time has got a different valuation in the business. They are continuing, rule of 80-20 will be applied for this business repeat customers. The business trademark or any registration, logo, all that will have a different intangible value. Today, if I'm not wrong, Tata has changed their brand about 20 years back, and now whatever you are seeing, whosoever are paying that for logo in their own empire, they have to pay the brand custodian the value of this thing, because Tata's reputation is such great that logo identifies, there is a trust of Indian people or even worldwide that symbol has got a trust. The circumstances surrounding the valuation, like forced sale rather than a voluntary one, that also depends. Suppose if you are a disparate seller or a, uh, this thing that has got a valuation effect. The age of the business, the longer the age of the business, it has got a different value. With advent of the technology, flow of information is faster, and by use of predictive algorithm, the entrepreneurs can nurture his business from his historical data of customers, suppliers, team members, etc. See, these are all new technologies which are coming, which can help you by using artificial intelligence, machine learning, various kind of predicting algorithm. Uh, you can find out the areas where you can nurture your valuation. The strength of the team behind the business, this is also very critical, more particularly in startup scenario. This is more relevant. What kind of product you have got? See, geographic advantage, the world country's economy. This and its intangibles make it fairly difficult to reach an accurate valuation. But there are number of techniques you can use it to make it easier. See, valuation is a very, you can say it's a art rather than a science. Next slide, please. Next slide. Importance of business valuation. The entrepreneur spent considerable time and energy trying to enhance company's value by developing a growth plan with well-defined goals. These plans are designed to maximize value over time, but it is hard to achieve those goals without knowing where to begin. So making a good plan, well-defined goals will not help. You will have to start you have to know where you have to begin. Owners need to understand what the value of the business today and what supports its value. Other overconfidence, often overconfidence of apathy causes the entrepreneur to neglect or downplay or at a minimum of the above factors. See, it is um, to nurture a value, you will have to continuously be focused on both the things, profitability as well as area of where intangibles can be created. See, that is why, if a farmer who has got a large land holding, he will try to cultivate cash crop along with mangoes and things like that. Mangoes will take 3 to 5 years to come to age to give the fruits. So he mixes that too. He invests uh, on mangoes and other long fruit, long growing these thing, trees and all that, which can give fruits little later, and cash crop. So his profit is continuously, his cash expenses are met with these cash crops, while he can invest little bit on that, and which allows that, which is a function of time. Next slide, please. Why valuation is needed? See, there are many cases where valuation will be needed. In finance, valuation is the process of determining the present value of an asset. Valuations are needed for many reasons, such as investment analysis, capital budgeting, merger and acquisition, partners want to retire, divorce, etc. So these are the general this thing, or common terms for the value of an asset or liability are market value, fair value, and intrinsic value. The meaning of these terms differ. Suppose a glass of water, when I come to somebody's house, is free of cost. But while at railway station in India, it will be 15 rupees. Inside the train, it can be 20 rupees. The same thing at the 5-star hotel may be 50 rupees. So it differs for what purpose you are trying to put the value. It is important to net valuation requires judgment and assumptions. Uh, all value models and methods have limitations. The degree of complexity, the relevance of the observation, mathematical form, etc. Today I went to one auction of a real estate, and the price started with 2 million and miss 1.9 million, and it went up to 2.165. It is indicating the auction that a need of buyer. Three buyers were there and they were trying to compete. One buyer went out after 2 million, and then two people fought for 1.65 million. So that is indicating the need of the buyer and at what level it becomes uneconomical. So auction is one thing where auction generally for business does not happen, but unless until there is a voluntary liquidation of a business. An accurate valuation of MSME is largely dependent on reliability of firm's historic financial information. MSMEs often prepare their financial statement to minimize profit and therefore taxes. So firm's historic financial information not be accurate and can lead to over or undervaluation. So this is one of the critical problem our MSME entrepreneurs over a span of last 20, 30 years, they wanted to reduce the profit, thus ultimately paying tax. But then they have forgotten that in long range, it will be harmful to their own interest, and over a span of 10, 20, 30 years, it is harmful for their own interest. So my advice will be try to give whatever exact profit you are making. If you have made this mistake of under reporting, try to correct that in next 2 or 3 years slowly, because government has got lot of data analytics applied at various sources. Next slide, please. There are commonly three pillars to valuing business entities: comparable company analysis, discounted cash flow analysis, and precedental transaction analysis. See, each method has got a different meaning. So when merger and acquisition or that kind of situation arises, so what is the last price similar business was sold? If suppose if the business continues, what will that profit at after 3, 5, 7 years, and what is the value of that profit today? That is discounted cash flow. Depends on various variables, say interest rate. Now, before Corona, we were in a surplus liquidity was there in a banking system. So everywhere in the world, interest rate has gone down. But now with USA started telling them they will try to tighten up the liquidity, and they already started taking actions like bond repurchase, and it is affecting all over, and interest rates are likely to go up. And depending on interest rate, the valuation or discounted cash flow analysis may differ. Precedent transaction analysis. So earlier, what is the transaction, at what rate it has happened, and the similar size of business, similar kind of complexities. Before the value of a business can be measured by valuation, assignment must specify the reason for and circumstances surrounding the business valuation. There are formally known as the business value standards and premises of the value. When bank wants to value something, they go on the basis of if they have to sell the same property today, what will be the value? They do not consider various other things, and they go by that distressed value, what they are getting. That distressed value may not be right, but that is a method we have adopted for many, many years. The standard of the value is hypothetical condition under which the business will be valued. Suppose if I don't want to sell, or when SME IPO is coming, then merchant banker decide the value, and that is how he fix up the price of the share. So there it is not going by distressed sale value. It is going with a running business concept. So there are various methods. The premises of the value relates to the assumption such that assuming that the business will continue forever in its current form as a going concern, or that the value of the business lies in the proceeds from the sale of all its assets minus related debt. Suppose if a bank wants to sell it, they will consider how much they have to recover. And suppose if a receiver, that is somebody has been appointed in a large company, a receiver, he will have to understand how much the creditors are to be paid, wages are to be paid, secured creditors are to be paid, and they arrive at that kind of valuation. Next slide, please. Next slide. Why valuation matters. Calculating the worth of a business is essential if you are buying or selling, but that is not the only reason. If you are looking for financing, lenders, investment bankers, and venture capitalists will want to know what the company is worth. If you are in a partnership and one partner wants to go out, you need to calculate the value of that partner share of the company. In a divorce, a valuation of business may be required so you can divide up the martial asset equally. So these are these various circumstances under which this kind of things are required. When you want to go for IPO, also the valuation will be required. Next slide, please. Next slide. Business valuation can be nurtured. Present value of the business is the starting point to nurture. Entrepreneurs burn the midnight oil for nurturing the business. As I said earlier, farmers with a large land holding goes for cash crop and a slow developing trees, so that he can get the best out of it over a span of time. This valuation can help you to focus on areas of improvement. This will include planning ahead. See, when you make budgeting, you can allocate something for long-term growth of a company, like marketing expenditure, innovations, research and R&D, or new product development. All that can be planned out because you need profit to plow back to a certain extent, and profit has to be utilized to give you not only improving your current ratios or your working capital needs, it has to give a continuous supply of technology changes happening to be financed. Reducing risk. Most of the ancillary units depends on one customer. Diversifying customer base will reduce the risk of dependence. So when he wants to diversify from one customer to second customer, he will be affected, and that he has to be making careful calculation to finding out the new customer, continuing with that without losing the ancillary status. So that is again that will reduce the risk. Suppose if main unit comes into problem in Hyderabad, BHEL Hyderabad has no orders for last 4-5 years. That is why all about 200 ancillary units in Patancheru are not having orders and now they are running pillar to post to survive. Putting process in the place. Many SM units are not having well-documented processes. This leads to disturbances. Please note, what works for one business may not work for another. So nurturing a specific business, you will have to work what is suitable for you. This is all valuation has to be nurtured depending on entrepreneur's skill set, entrepreneur's opportunities available at that particular time, his forecast, his geographical expansion, what he is looking for. Because any geographical expansion, he will have to sustain uh, first 8 to 9 months or 1 year acquiring the customer there. So he has to be very careful. Next, please. Next slide. There are few methods of valuation. Valuing the assets as going concern or as liquidation. The drawback of an asset-based valuation is that a good business is worth more than the value of the equipment, real estate, inventory, and other assets. So physical assets valuation may give an indication, but it will not value the intangibles. Discounted cash flow valuation is another method. This is much more effective method of establishing a company's value. This requires more number crunching than asset appraisal. Considering how much cash a business will generate in future provides a much better view of the company's real worth. In this method, you assume about future growth and cash flow. It is tempting to make them overly optimistic. So here we are assuming many factors which are in future where we may not have definite control. It is giving a various indication, and then say 2, 3, 4 methods you work out, and generally entrepreneur will become over optimistic and he will have a problem in latter time. So discounted cash flow valuation has got its own problems. Next slide, please. Next slide. The cost of entry. This is another method, how much it will need to start a similar business. This method does not consider the company's future earnings or cash flow. See, if anybody remembers Harshad Mehta time in 90s, he has gone with that method of ACC shares. He played around and created a share price of ACC to go up much higher. Well, ACC had a historical value of the plant 50, 60 years back. They have been created. So the asset in the books are zero. So that was a point which he has played around. Then the rules of thumbs. This is another method for the most company used. Rule of thumb is simply percentage of annual sales, and the factor depends on location, market, economy, etc. It's a judgment call. Generally, 2 times of the sale is considered. But suppose if you happen to be in pharma company, that 3 times sale or 4 times sales also can be considered. So it depends on location, market. After Corona, pharma companies has overshooted. Today, automobile companies, this may not apply, but electric vehicle, it may apply. Another rule of thumb is the multiple of earnings in small business. The multiple is used against what is termed seller's discretionary earning. Suppose I earned 5 crores in this year. So 3 times or 4 times of 5 crore can be a natural multiplier, but it solely depends on various other factors. But this is maybe a starting point. Next slide, please. So I have shown you various things of about MSME valuation. And I request my all MSME entrepreneur friends to relook to their business models, and depending on their age, succession possibilities, team, and long-term vision, they should invest on continuously growing their value so that they can reach dividend when they go for IPO. Startup valuation is a different ball game totally, and it has not much to do with MSME valuation. Historically, MSMEs are uh, 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 in hard asset kind of manufacturing things, but startup valuation is totally different. You can see Uber, how much value it has come. It does not own single car. Uh, air and this thing. They do not have any single hotel room, but they are one of the big startup valuation has been given. Canva, Canva also is having about 2,600 employees, growing this thing. They do not have this thing, but their valuation is 55 billion Australian dollar. Now, many startups has come all over the world who are trying to solve many pain points and trying to ease lifestyle and various factors. Um, so, artificial intelligence, machine learning, augmented reality, virtual reality, blockchain, quantum computing are growing areas. There are many more. And this thing, to value the startup is very difficult. And the idea stage, an angel investor invests depending on the perception of the risk. 90% of startup fails. So angel investor invest in many startups and average his risk. Then once the prototype is ready, early stage seed investors invest at a lower risk, and they go uh, over once the prototype is ready, early stage seed investor invest at a lower risk, and these go on till the business is getting listed or acquired. So there will be various rounds of investment, seed round, A round, B round, C round. It can go up to F or further also, depending on the maturity and when the angel investors or when the investors want to dilute their stakes or they go out exit. In Paytm case, the major investors wanted to go out. So they have priced at 2,100. Once they have gone out, the market has crashed 2,000 rupees or 1,100 rupees. So many SMEs which starts executing new product development or geographic expansion or any such move will reduce profit till this effort mature. So at what stage these efforts are efforts are, valuation will change. Next, please. Next slide. Why it is important to estimate the value of a startup? Company's valuation is a relative thing and is generally determined by analyzing the sector to which the startup belongs, the future of the industry, the size of recent startup exit in the industry, etc. Sometimes it depends on the willingness of an investor to pay a premium to get into deal. And sometimes the desperation level of the entrepreneur looking for money is so high that they undervalue their startup to get the money needed. So in between dead and devil, entrepreneur has to go through, and suppose he exhausts all his money, then he'll have to close down. So he is desperate to get money so that he can continue working on that. And then in that case, he for selling 10% stake, he may reduce the asking rate, and then there are people who would like to come. In general, startup founders hope for a high valuation, whereas investors prefer a discounted value that promises a huge return on investment. You would have understood by now the importance of fair evaluating the value of a startup, and it does not involve any guesswork. Next, please. Next slide. Business valuation is needed for conclusion. Business valuation is needed for sell, purchase, merger, and acquisition, for the settlement of retiring partner compensation, or in the case of divorce. It gives guidance to entrepreneur to areas of growth, increasing its geographical reach. Various methods of how to value your business, but any valuation will have to have purpose like ongoing concern, distress sale, liquidation, etc. Next, please. Next slide, please. See, our SME Analytics, where I am a co-founder, is also a startup working in MSME, and we are a social fintech startup, and we have been awarded recently by HISEA Innovation Summit, that one of the 10 hottest startup in Hyderabad. So this is a proud moment for me and my team. And ours is a social fintech startup working for MSME, where we are feeling that assets created in MSME field from 1969, when the banks were nationalized, including today's inclusion of retail and wholesale in MSME definition, the investment or asset created will be 300 to 400 lakh crores. And if we are able to improve the operational efficiency of existing MSME by 5% on year, it will, in next 3 years, will be able to create 3 to 4 crore low-skill jobs, which will contribute 2.2% of India's GDP without much capex. At estimated estimated GDP of India at 136 lakh crores. This 136 lakhs crores may be before Corona also, but it is indicating the potential. So in that area, next slide, please. Toward this goal, next slide, please. Next, we have developed a tool known as Babaji, that is Business Analytics, Business Documentation, Growth Information System, which will analyze your profit and loss free of cost. And if you give 3 years, this thing will give you in graphical and numerical form with our recommendation. See, many of MSME entrepreneurs, when they go to the bank says your current ratio is not good. They don't understand what is current ratio. And then they run to their auditors, and then they try to change that figure. But this is not healthy practice. Understanding your balance sheet and profit and loss will definitely have a very big advantage over a span of time. And we are trying to do that free of cost. And ultimately, our idea is to develop Z score, which is predominantly predicting possible insolvency. So that is a risk factor. See, like a human, we are afraid of death. Business is afraid of insolvency, and he would like till his last to fight against insolvency. So that is our area of expertise, and we are also now trying to work on one HR tool where we will be measuring soft skill. It is happening in the soft skill of workers. every quarter, so that a better teamwork, better information, better communication, better innovation culture can come. And because workers are the one who can generate, who are daily using the machine, so generate better ideas. So if there is a proper channel of it will help the entrepreneur to reduce the cost, and it can become a competitive in the world market. Next slide, please. See, we will help some of the SME unit for IPO, CFO kind of services. These are well this our digital flyer. Next slide, please. I request everybody to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you will be getting my earlier lectures, earlier webinars also, and that will help us to be interacting with each other better. Next slide, please. Thank you, everybody. Now we are open to question answers. Pinaki, can we start taking question answer?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the session by Desai sir. Now we'll go for the question and answer session. So this will be recorded also, and it will be on YouTube also. Please like and share and subscribe on YouTube so that you can hear later. So the first question would be, what is the valuation of MSMEs in India right now?
See, it is very difficult if you are talking about total MSMEs, but our estimate is putting at 14.5 crore with the general real estate and other assets and other things. This will be in the range of 300 to 400 lakh crores, which is much higher than the valuation of NSE or BSE listed companies. If the total assets, if you are talking about specific MSME unit, we'll have to do detailed analysis. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir. Because of the recent war happening, will it affect the MSMEs?
See, it depends on the spread. See, today is the third day. 24th the war has been started. Today is 26th. The indication in the stock market erosion is indicating, and petrol jumping to in the crude oil jumping to $106 is indicating that we are heading indirectly or directly in a high inflation zone, and definitely it will affect on the consumption and saving pattern. Ultimately, it depends on how many days it lasts and how many countries are getting involved over a span of time, because it's a very critical decision for everybody, every big country, and we have to wait and watch. But it will affect sentiments. I will not say valuation, but sentiments. People who would like to take some dynamic decisions may stay away for some time. Wait and watch situation. Next, please.
Next question is, today valuation of any company includes funding from investors. Is this a real valuation? Considering the real valuation should be the output or production or sales value of the company.
Please come again.
Today valuation of any company includes funding from investors. Is this a real valuation? Considering the real valuation should be the output or production or sales value of the company.
See, it depends in what stage you are there. If you are in a startup, that there will be pre-seed valuation, after seed, after investors valuation, that will be two different perception. But if you are a regular MSME, there are various methods, and again, at what, for what purpose you are getting your valuation done. Many times for understanding where you stand, you would like to get the feeling, okay, how much is the my market worth. Yeah, so it may not, but you don't want to sell, but you wanted to estimate. See, many people, many MSME unit will have land outside their business, and some in emergency, if something comes up, whether they can sell the land and bring in it. So various considerations are there on entrepreneur's mind. It is very difficult. It's a case-to-case based uh, answer.
Okay.
Next, please.
Next question is how MSME manufacturing are different from MSME services.
The MSME services has got employees as an asset. So it depends on how many employees are there, how old are there, what is their skill set, what they are bringing. Once our Infosys chairman Narayan Murthy used to say, my asset goes to sleep every day in the night. So it depends on, and what is the IP, that depends on this thing. What is their efficiency? While in manufacturing, what kind of machines or technology you are using, that will decide the growth or valuation of MSME. About 20 years back, CNC machine was not available. Now CNC machine, plasma gas cutting, and lot of advanced technological machines have come in. So it depends on what kind of market segment you are trying to serve. That is what will be my answer in manufacturing. And definitely your process, documented process also will affect the valuation. That is why ISO certified companies are sometimes better valued than not certified. Next slide, next please.
Next question is what is the method of assessing working capital requirement for MSME unit?
The, the MSME working capital finance has evolved. So it was depending on Chole committee, Tandon committee, Chakravarti committee, method A and method B, maximum permissible bank finance, all that has come up over a span of last 60, 70 years. And lower out of the two, that is why when somebody who wants more than 10 lakhs, he has to give his projections in part A or part B, and where their bank will take a decision. It depends on the reputation of also the entrepreneur or unit and collateral. So banks are reasonably, public sector banks are reasonably conservative nowadays because of a lot of sickness or underperformance has happened in last, you can say from 2014 or 15. Next, please.
What is bank credit facilitation scheme?
Bank
Credit facilitation scheme.
I am not aware of such this thing.
Oh, okay.
But government is trying to facilitate. But I do. It can be some bankers must have adopted, like SME factory, or many banks have come out of SME specialized center to understand the need. But I have not heard of anything like bank facilitation center.
Okay. So, okay, I'll go with the next question. So, are there specialized bank branches for lending to the MSMEs?
Again, please come again.
Are there specialized bank branches for lending to the
Yes.
MSMEs.
Yes, many public sector bank has come out with SME factory kind of thing, or they have created a specialized cell to understand, and their credit officers, their credit thinking is literally different from other credit functions. They have created, practically every bank has created. Now, I think this last round of merger, yes, they have created in, I think, 12 or 15 banks, 12 public sector banks. But the private sector bank has got a product-based financing. It's a different kind of financing. Next question, please.
Next question is from outside India. Ms. Rosalind, she has asked, what is the Indian government doing to offer intellectual property rights to the MSME owners?
They have created various facilitation council, and as well as in Hyderabad, we have got NISME. They are helping MSME unit to get IP registered, including many these things at a lower cost. And awareness about this is continuously increasing in India, but specific research based patterns in MSME are not heard many. They are there, but not many. Next, please. Thank you, Rosalind.
Next question is, what support is provided by the ministry for promotion of information and communication tools in MSME sector?
The last 5-7 years, they have introduced for adoption of digital technology, cloud computing, ERP, and they are giving subsidized this thing. You can approach MSME D in Balanagar if you are in Hyderabad, or any state where you are there. There is a MSME development center. You can approach, or you can go to the website, and accelerated digital transformation government wants. So they are coming out regularly with the new scheme. But in this budget, in particularly February budget, I have not seen much in that side. Thank you. Next, please.
So that was the last question, and this is to inform you, sir. I mean, there has been so many students who are appreciating the efforts you are doing by spreading the knowledge. So, thank you, all the students here, all the people from outside India also, those who are keenly listening to these particular sessions week by week. So
I would like to tell them that if they are college students or their university is interested, we are open, because we would like to develop a predictive insolvency score for Z score, where behavioral changes or behavioral pattern of an entrepreneur, which is not captured otherwise normally, how we can capture from the balance sheet, and we can work out various correlation from Professor Atman's Z score. Because see, MSME sector in India, debt equity ratio is 3:1, and that one also subsidies and other things are coming, but which is getting delayed. So early stage sicknesses are high, or the death rate is very high in first 5-6 years. So I would be interested to collaborate with our Indian academicians or foreign participants who are open to work on this, because these kind of problems are there. Few years back in our MSME summit in Delhi, International MSME Summit, I met some Nigerians. They say the similar problems exist in their country also. So the problems which are there in India, like developed country, developing countries, I hope everywhere the same kind of problems will be there. So I am open to collaborate with or work out various things with any university or with any individual or government bodies all over world. Thank you. Anything else? Now, next webinar on next Saturday.
Next webinar would be on 5th, and the topic would be passion and goals.
Passion and goals. Okay. So, no questions? I think there are 44 chats.
Yes, sir. I mean, all have actually, they're replying, thank you, sir, and thanks, sir. Thank you for the links and everything. So appreciation is there, a lot of appreciation.
Okay. I am interested to be with continuous touch with anybody who are interested to have a continuous dialogue and similar interest. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Have a happy weekend.